Welcome back to Orange Hat Reviews, everyone. So, it seems that the Mary Sue is continuing their reign of misandric terror online and basically coming up with anything they can to besmirch and degrade anything they don't like because it does well against something that they do like, which, in all objective honesty, was not so good. Specifically speaking about the attempt at Ghostbusters 2016 versus the real third installment of Ghostbusters, which was Ghostbusters Afterlife, which recently came out. So, from the Mary Sue, let's unpack the sexist box office narrative around Ghostbusters Afterlife. Answer the Call made more money than Afterlife, but it was still deemed a flop. Gee, I wonder why. By Chelsea Steiner from the Mary Sue. Yeah. So let's get on this, shall we? This weekend, Jason Reitman's Ghostbusters Afterlife hit theaters, claiming a top spot at the box office with a $44 million domestic debut. It's a solid opening weekend, given the pandemic of it all, and will likely earn more money this coming holiday weekend. Despite a less than enthusiastic 62% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, fans are loving the follow-up film, giving it a 96% audience score. Yeah. I especially loved it because it was actually good. I saw Afterlife Thursday night, and as a lifelong Ghostbusters fan, somehow I doubt that, I had a blast. The movie was funny, heartfelt, and delivered on all the warm, fuzzy nostalgia fans want from the series. But I can't help but be frustrated with how different the Afterlife narrative is from the 2016 women-led Answer the Call. Why is it frustrating? Answer the Call was inundated with bad press and toxic fandom that started during the film's production. Oh, you mean when, what's his name? Paul Feig, or whatever it was, decided to say that this was a deeply political film and said that anyone who doesn't like this film or is most likely just a racist or sexist or whatever, before the movie even came out? You mean that movie? And once fans learned that the film would center on 4 women Ghostbusters, played by Melissa McCarthy, Kristen Wiig, Leslie Jones, and Kate McKinnon, the angry men of the internet mobilized to tank the film, from downvoting the trailers on YouTube to flooding Rotten Tomatoes with bad reviews. Okay, I'm going to stop you right there. That's also another false statement. You see, the trailer on YouTube, it said 30 years ago, 4 scientists saved the world, and now it's time for other ones to do the same. You see, I gave Ghostbusters 2016 a chance. I actually watched it under the assumption that because of that trailer, it was connected to Ghostbusters 1 and 2. However, once the movie proved that it was not connected to Ghostbusters 1 and 2 and confirmed before the movie came out, yes, people were unhappy. People downvoted the trailer because it wasn't interesting. It didn't garner interest, and people didn't like how the trailer looked. That's what the downvote button was there for. And then the movie came out and it was hot garbage, and then they frickin' reviewed it and gave their honest reviews saying that the movie was a very big miss. That's not toxic. That's honesty. Apparently the Mary Sue is not capable of it. And there were also some virulently racist online attacks directed at Leslie Jones, which the studio did little to address. Oh, you mean Leslie Jones that claimed racism against anybody who didn't like the film because, well, it just didn't feel like Ghostbusters? Because people who were lifelong fans like myself thought that it was just a misandric wet dream that depicted men as either assholes or inept or idiots or sometimes both. That's all it was. And they had a story sprinkled in there somewhere that just was deeply sexist in its own right. But as for the racism directed at Leslie Jones, if there was any, it was extremely limited, like under 1,000 people. And that I would not condone. But for the fact that they're saying that it was all racist and stuff, bullshit. Thanks to the relentlessly negative press, Answer the Call was deemed dead on arrival. No, it really wasn't. People gave it a chance. Despite earning $46 million its opening weekend, the box office narrative painted the film as a flop. It lost $70 million. It's a flop. The Hollywood Reporter featured a headline that read, Ghostbusters heading for $70 million plus loss, sequel unlikely. That's because it didn't make money. Despite Sony saying nothing about a sequel. Well, usually people do ask or speculate about a sequel if the movie does well or doesn't do well. That's just the way it is. Do you not know anything about Hollywood? In contrast, the Hollywood Reporter's headline for Afterlife, Ghostbusters Afterlife opens to heavenly $44 million. And while it's a fine opening weekend during the pandemic, no less, it made barely half of what fellow blockbusters like Black Widow, Shang-Chi, and F9, The Fast Saga have raked in. Oh, you mean the fact that, I don't know. Could it be that these movies also were put on streaming services to also garner a lot more money? Because if I went to a small town theater, I would pay less than $14 for a ticket. Where if you wanted to watch it on Disney Plus, you had to pay $30. Yeah. Also, those movies are a lot bigger franchises. Marvel is automatically going to earn a lot more money. Ghostbusters hasn't been relevant since 1989. I'm sorry, but that 2016 attempt really destroyed any relevance of Ghostbusters since then. It was only until Ivan Reitman came out saying that Ghostbusters 3 was being done that people had a sense of hope, and even then they were skeptical. Answer the Call made $2 million more than Afterlife did on its opening weekend, and it received 74% on fresh rating from critics, who we all know that Rotten Tomatoes is a shill site. It has already been debunked as a site that fudges reviews, that give fully dishonest reviews. This happened and was exposed after the Captain Marvel incident on Rotten Tomatoes, where they shut down the site to protect Captain Marvel. And they've revamped it completely. Excuse me. Audience score is a dismal 49%, given the online movement to trash the film scores. The movement was not to trash the film. The movement, which didn't even exist, it just wasn't good. You're looking into something that's just not there. This Chelsea woman is an idiot. There is something strange in the neighborhood, and surprise, surprise, it's sexism! Obviously, that's their claim. From the online hate campaign to the male-dominated world of entertainment journalism, what the fuck? It seems that men at large unilaterally decided that Answer the Call would be a flop. Wrong! They deemed it a flop after it performed poorly, because people didn't like the film, because people don't want to go to a film where they are feeling insulted by the film itself, because of the underlying narratives and the political hoopla. And the narrative stuck. Well, yeah, that's because of what it did. Fueling this narrative was the respective budgets of the film. Answer the Call was $144 million to produce and earn $229 million worldwide. Still lost $70 million. In contrast, and likely due to Answer the Call's profit margin, Afterlife was made for a more modest $75 million budget, which is easier to recoup. Yeah, and chances are it's going to actually possibly still be a flop, but it's a lot better. Paul Feig's film Answer the Call was lambasted by angry misogynists who were furious at that the original Ghostbusters, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, weren't reprising their roles, and the fourth, Harold Ramis, sadly passed away in 2014. Well, yeah, that's because people thought that they would reprise their roles. Instead, they were cast as a freaking sexist piece of shit, and an ending where Ernie Hudson was barely in it at all when he was actually one of the better Ghostbusters. They weren't Ghostbusters. Reitman himself, after the film, the film ruined my childhood discourse continued until it was announced that Jason Reitman, son of Ghostbusters director Ivan Reitman, would be picking up the reins for Afterlife. With Reitman on board, the film was hailed as a return to the roots of the beloved franchise. Yeah, that's because it was. It's impossible to quantify how the differing press and public response to the two films changed their box office outcome, but undoubtedly affected each film's release. Well, maybe it's because Ivan Reitman decided to do the right thing, which was respect fans, not insult them before the film came out. Also, he focused on making a film, not a political statement. You ever think of that? Yeah. The movie is also female-led. Isn't that weird? That's something that the Mary Sue didn't actually point out. Ghostbusters Afterlife is female-led. Yeah, there's still 2 male Ghostbuster boys in it, but guess what? There's 2 women in it. Also, this movie did have some good diversity in it. Not that diversity should be not that diversity should be forced on anybody, but this movie didn't force any diversity. It was organically done. And that's why people accepted it. So, Reitman himself stoked the flames of fandom, promising, "We are in every way trying to go back to the original technique and hand the movie back to the fans." Reitman implied that fans of Answer the Call weren't real Ghostbusters fans, which is an insult to both the fans and Feige's film. Well, no. You see, Feige's film insulted fans, not fans insulted his film or the fans of Answer the Call. If you like Answer the Call, that is fine. Good for you. You liked it. But most of the Ghostbusters fans who have been fans since Ghostbusters came out in 1984, or who was born after it, and myself, I was born in 85, but I watched the movies and loved them ever since. Guess what? We do have a little bit more, clout when it comes to fanhood. So, both Afterlife and Answer the Call are solid films. No, Answer the Call is not a solid film. It was objectively bad. Writing, direction, CGI was terrible. The story itself was a political statement. That's not a good film. And welcome entries into Ghostbusters canon. No, Answer the Call wasn't. It was decanonized because it didn't go along with the original canon. And they should be treated as such. Afterlife should. Afterlife even has its own iconic female lead in McKenna Grace's phenomenal Phoebe. After leaving the theater, I couldn't help but imagine what a crossover might look like. Oh my God, it's never going to happen on screen. So shut up. With McKinnon's Jillian Holtzman mentoring young Phoebe in science and ghostbusting. She doesn't need it. The girl is a freaking child genius. It would be nice to see Answer the Call folded into Afterlife's mythology. It won't be. Instead of being treated like the redheaded stepchild of the franchise. It's not even part of the franchise. That's how bad it was. People reject it outright. The majority of people reject it outright. Get it through your head, girl. The world does not center around your universe. Or the universe doesn't revolve around you. It revolves around other things. Mainly a sun. You know? There should be room for both, to love both films. If you love Ghostbusters, or that attempt at a Ghostbusters film, fine. More power to you. Not everybody is entitled to like what you like. But anyway, that's all there is to it. I mean, this film, or this Chelsea Steiner, she really needs to get a reality check. People are entitled to like what they like and not like what they don't like. It's that simple. If you don't like a film, you are allowed to say, I didn't like the film based on my opinion of it. But also there are objective qualities to film that can be addressed too. Ghostbusters Answer the Call, Ghostbusters, it wasn't a good film, either objectively nor subjectively. Those critics also are known to shill. That was exposed in 2018 with Captain Marvel. You see, folks, people have got to wake up to the reality of the situation. Critics can't be trusted anymore. They gave Ghostbusters Afterlife a lower rating in the critic score because, it's not as woke as the 2016 one. When we all know that everything woke turns to shit. That's just objective fact. Anyway, that's going to be the video. Y'all know the drill. Like, comment, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. What do you think of this article, of this blatantly sexist article by Chelsea Steiner and the Mary Sue? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comment section below, folks. This has been Orange Hat Reviews. Stay humble.